An odd find was discovered by auctioneers following the deaths of two siblings who left their home abandoned. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. Following the deaths of Jack and Audrey Newton in the English Midlands, a nearby auction company was contacted. It was accordingly assigned to the team to appraise and sell the deceased siblings' possessions. Strangely enough, though, it felt as though the reviewing specialists had entered another reality. When they reached the Newtons' farmhouse in 2015, Jack and Audrey, a brother and sister duo, had spent almost 70 years residing at Grange Farm, which is situated outside the village of Brighton on Dunsmore in Warwickshire, England. They assisted their parents in farming the 115 acres of land that belonged to the property and kept cattle and pigs when they moved to the charming home in the 1940s. As we shall see, the Newton family's farmhouse survived World War II, despite the fact that German Luftwaffe bombs nearly destroyed the neighboring city of Coventry. The Newton family forewent many of the conveniences of contemporary living. Rather, they chose to lead a modest life centered on their property, their animals, and their charming Queen Anne-style home. Thus, the Newton family's way of life seemed to be very perfect in several aspects. However, Jack's calm life was upended when he volunteered in the military to do his duty and flew with the Royal Air Force in World War II. Audrey kept herself busy in the interim by helping her parents and discovering a liking for music and the arts. Audrey's fascination with culture drove her to travel to the metropolis and away from Brighton on Dunsmore. She in particular made a link with the Belgrade Theatre in Coventry, which led to Grange Farm hosting a number of actors throughout the years. The English singer and actor Michael Crawford, who rose to fame and wealth on Broadway as the Phantom of the Opera star, was the most well-known thespian to pass through the door, having served his nation and king during the war. Jack went back to Grange Farm. Then, as the years went by, the elder Newtons departed from this life, but the loving siblings carried on with their simple existence. They both never got married, and in addition to turning down partners and kids, it seems like they turned down practically every new invention. It appears that their preference was for the house to stay in the same condition as when they moved in. And Jack and Audrey kept working the land as they always had. Even after they sold the farm's livestock, sadly though, Audrey finally passed away in 2011 at the age of 80. At the ripe old age of 99, Jack passed away 4 years later in March 2015, so Grange Farm was empty for the first time since the 1940s. The Newtons had no near relatives who may have inherited the land. However, although the details of Jack and Audrey's will are kept private, the executors were about to take a drastic step. The executors of the estate decided to sell Grange Farm and hold an auction of its contents in order to reach a settlement with the beneficiaries. Things started to become intriguing at this point. Hawkins and Harrison, two nearby real estate brokers, intervened to arrange the sale of the land and everything on it. Still, it's doubtful the experts realized what they were getting themselves into. As the auction valuers from Hawkins and Harrison discovered upon entering Grange Farm, it truly seemed like they had stepped into a time warp. Upon initial observation, it appeared as though the family had not made any changes to the house since moving in 70 years prior. Every piece of furniture and fixtures, decorations, and commonplace objects appeared to provide a fascinating window into 1940s family life. Furthermore, a large number of the Newtons' previous belongings were much older. There were antiques everywhere you looked in the spacious 9-bedroom home. Furthermore, although many things were solely ornamental, others served a useful purpose. The Newtons had in fact left behind items they had used all the way up until the end, such as an antique sewing machine, wrought iron bed frames, a typewriter, and a traditional larder in place of a contemporary refrigerator. The brother and sister's interests and passions were mirrored in other contents. A variety of antique instruments, recordings, and sheet music, some of which date back to the 1920s, were among the astounding items. The auction company also discovered vintage binoculars and film cameras, and amputation equipment from the war was among the most strange objects. Pat Ruck was amazed with Grange Farm and everything in it. Pat Ruck assisted in planning the auction for the executors in charge of the Newtons' will. He told the Coventry Telegraph, "The contents of the house have not been touched since the time of their late parents." Ruck, who was captivated, said it's a time warp of interesting items, curiosities, and even war memorabilia. Still, the guy thought of the previous owners of Grange Farm. The Newtons never married, but they had an interesting life, he said. Actually, a bygone period is coming to an end. Shane Morris, a neighbor of the Newtons, talked with the Daily Mail when one of its reporters visited Brighton on Dunsmore to confirm the story. The siblings, according to Morris, belonged to the make-do and mend generation. Yes, Jack and Audrey had grown up during the Great Depression, endured the hardships of World War II, and had known what it was like to live in extreme austerity throughout the post-war years. Apparently, all of this had made an impression. "It's an old person's house, but they never threw anything away," Morris stated. Morris went on, "They were incredibly careful individuals who maintained things even before recycling came around. Jack was a master of all trades who served in the RAF during the war. He accomplished a great deal. As they grew older, they sold their pigs and cattle, but continued to cultivate the land." Now, Hawkins and Harrison had an open house before the big auction of the Grange Farm items. This made it possible the public has advance access to the auction lots and information about the Newton family's lifestyle. An official from the company said that flinging the doors open was really well liked. It seems that amazed tourists came from all around to see the museum's exhibits. Then, in June 2015, an auction at Grange Farm was conducted to sell the Newtons' belongings. The event drew hundreds of visitors because of the historical and antique attraction and worth of some of the lots. It's possible that a large number of guests wanted to take home a piece of history. Shane Morris, a resident of Brighton on Dunsmore, was one of the guests. He was hoping to obtain a memento to commemorate the Newtons. "They were very private people, but they were very nice and caring to their friends," he clarified to the Daily Mail at the time. "They remained loyal to you. My wife and I would bid on a few things to preserve as keepsakes because they were like parents to us." Ultimately, every one of the 500 available lots was purchased at the auction. Additionally, a gold pocket watch that sold for an astounding £600, about $840, was one of the pieces. After the event, Sean Barron of Hawkins and Harrison told the Coventry Telegraph, "It was a really good day with a great crowd." Subsequent to organizing the auction of the Newton family's belongings, Grange Farm was put up for sale, fetching about $900,000. Many auction purchasers are still touched by Jack and Audrey's legacy, despite their passing and lack of successors. The successful bidders for those intriguing artifacts have probably silently expressed gratitude to the Newtons for their remarkable historical preservation. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.